Please.
Commissioner Powell. Here. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Present.
Commissioner Spiz is running late. Commissioner Gershenson is ex officio. Here. Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Long.
Here.
Commissioner Markham.
Here.
You have quorum.
Great. All right, if everyone would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to move into item number 4A under our budget presentations. The Circuit Court budget hearing will be first. And we're happy to see you today.
Good afternoon.
For anybody in the public, we will have a public comment at this meeting, but it is at the end after the three budget hearings for the three different departments. So
Good afternoon.
welcome.
Obviously, being a former commissioner myself, I'm familiar with the layout of the room. Permission to turn my back to the esteemed chair and members behind me. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Mattis, and it's my privilege to be with you today. I am the Chief Judge of the Oakland County Circuit Court. And being that I was a county commissioner myself at one point, spent a lot of time in this room. Must say that it has changed somewhat. There's some new faces that have joined since I left. There's some familiar faces that I see who were here when I was here, but it's always a pleasure to come back and talk to the commission, and I appreciate very much the opportunity to be with you today. I want to make sure I don't forget to say, at any point if you have questions, whether it's during our presentation or after we're done and you're going through your process, just reach out to us and we'll make sure, and it goes to everyone, whether it be Rich, the court administrator, myself, or others in the court team. We want to make sure that you get the information you need, that any questions are answered, so at the end of the day, you can make an informed decision and fulfill your duties and obligations as well. So just reach out to us. I did bring some folks with me today, and I'd be remiss if I didn't quickly introduce some folks. Rich Lynch is our court administrator. To my left, Chris is over there. She's keeping her distance. She's really under the weather today. That's the mask and her distance. Frankly, but for this event, she'd probably be home resting up, but it just shows her dedication and her professionalism. She wanted to be here. She thought this was important, and she wanted to make sure if you had questions that she could be here to answer them. So I want to thank her for being here, even though she's not feeling well today. We have got in the backs our folks from the friend of the court, obviously Suzanne Hollier, and I won't go through everybody here, but the friend of the court team is in the back. And I'd asked them to come because if there are any questions about the friend of the court, depending on the nature of the question, I thought they might be best to be able to answer those questions. And certainly there's others in our court team that are not here but could be available if you have questions to get you what you need. Okay, so just a few things quick. I know that I always assume everyone sort of knows about the court and all the details that we know, but I know there's some new folks and people, and things have changed in a few regards. So I wanted to just very quickly give sort of a high-level summary of the court so everyone would sort of understand some things about the court that I think are important. So obviously, we're talking about the Oakland Circuit Court. Probate court is a different entity, and I know those folks and Judge Callahan will appear before you, presumably, if they haven't already. But we're the Circuit Court. We are one of the largest trial courts in the state of Michigan. We have 20 judges. I serve as the chief. The Michigan Supreme Court picks the chief every 2 years. So they chose me. I'm the current chief. But we have 20 judges, and we are broken down into different divisions within the court. Very quickly, we have a family division. We have judges in the family division who handle divorces, custody matters, paternity, PPOs, emergency risk protection orders. Those are the matters that got a lot of attention not long back, were newly created. They handle parental abuse, neglect, termination of parental rights, juvenile delinquencies, adoptions, various things that they handle. No worries. We have business court judges, 2 business court judges. They're appointed by the Michigan Supreme Court. Those judges handle, just like it sounds, business court cases, disputes, commercial in nature between business entities. They also handle criminal cases, adult criminal cases as well. We have a civil criminal division, of which I'm in addition to being chief. And we handle civil cases, could be anything you can imagine, a slip and fall, an automobile accident, someone who's terminated from employment claims wrongful discrimination, wrongful firing, they bring a suit, that type of thing. Could be a property dispute between two people who live next door to each other on a lake, and there's a fight about a property line. Almost anything you can think of in the civil context. Criminal, we generally handle felonies. The district courts, which I know are going to be before you as well, focus on misdemeanors generally, and we handle felonies. Sometimes a felony could be wrapped to a misdemeanor, but generally felonies. And it's everything from somebody goes into a store and steals an item, a shoplifting matter, and the value is just enough to make it a felony, up to a murder where if they're a homicide, where if someone's convicted, they spend life in prison with no parole. So obviously the full gamut of cases. In addition, we serve as an appellate court to the district courts. In addition to our judges, we have referees, both at the front of the court as well as juvenile matters, parental abuse, neglect, those types of things. We've also used visiting judges quite a bit, and that's a way, I'm mindful of the fact that obviously we're dealing with taxpayer dollars, and that's important, and we want to be respectful of that and efficient. One of the ways that we have historically done that is by using visiting judges, typically retired judges, who come back and assist us on a part-time basis, so they're not getting benefits or anything like that, but they handle all kinds of different matters and cases for us. And so that's one way that we've been mindful of costs, trying to keep costs down in lieu of bringing additional judges on, is to handle visiting judges. Recently, we did move a judge from our civil criminal division to family. We did a data-based decision. We looked at the numbers. We felt at the end of the day the family division needed some help with an extra judge. The numbers were going up and supported it. Obviously that's a big decision, because by doing that, it increased the workload of the judges in the civil criminal division, since there'd be one less judge. So it affected the whole bench. As chief, I didn't want to just do something like that myself, even though chief judge does have broad power and discretion. So we looked at all the data and ultimately went to a vote of all the judges. I put it to a vote, and it was a unanimous decision of all the judges to make that decision, make that move, which we think would help the family division judges move more efficiently, handle their cases better, more timely. Obviously, family cases involve kids and children, families, and certainly very important matters. Okay, so certainly the number of case filings affects our workload. When case filings go up, it's more cases, obviously, and increases our workload and has a budgetary impact, the more cases we handle. At various times throughout the court's history, certain cases have gone up and certain cases have gone down. And that's the way it's been. Sometimes there's changes in the law that significantly impact us, and that is something that's important that we are aware of. I want to make sure that you understand as well. At any given time, the Michigan Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals could come down with a case, and they might change the law on something, and it could have a significant effect on our budget and our workload. So just one example is there was a case, Miller versus Alabama, that came down a number of years ago by the U.S. Supreme Court that dealt with the issue of sentencing a juvenile to life for a homicide, a conviction, life in prison with no parole. And the determination was, the ruling of the court was, it's unconstitutional to automatically sentence a juvenile to life without parole. The court has to go through a hearing, called a Miller hearing, and there's a lot involved with that. There's appointed counsel, there's a number of things. So our Michigan courts have expanded that now. They've increased the age upward, which has now caused many more cases to fall within that umbrella, if you will, of cases affected by that, meaning we as a court have to have hearings potentially on all these cases and bring the cases back, and you have to have appointed counsel. In some cases, you need an interpreter. You have transcript fees. You might have expert witness fees. And all of this, obviously, these are things that we have to handle, which certainly take time. It increases the workload and potentially the cost. You know, there's a cost standpoint because you have a number of individuals who obviously cannot afford these things, and so it has to be paid for by the court or by an entity. And so you're having a cost impact, you're having a workload impact. And that's for cases that's one example, and there's many others I could give you that at any given time come down from the Supreme Court of Michigan or the Court of Appeals and ultimately have a big effect on us and our budget. Certainly laws can get passed as well. The legislature in Lansing, the governor can sign a law, sign a bill, make it a law, and then all of a sudden there's new obligations on us. And oftentimes, there's no funding provided for these obligations, which we, under the law, are obligated to follow, but they don't give the money for it. So there's obviously, sometimes there's issues there. So just kind of give you a general thought of that.
Chief Judge?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I think I heard him say questions during.
Yeah, sure.
What was your pleasure, Madam Chair? Was it after or?
I'm sorry, what's your question?
When is it okay to jump in if you got a question? Because he did, Chief Judge did say if we had a question to jump in, but I just
Yeah,
want to
She
make
no,
can
sure.
ask a
that's
question.
Just let me know and I'll,
Okay,
so do you have a question?
just a quick one.
Sure.
What is that age limit now?
The age limit now is up to 20.
These Zarnecki cases takes it to 18, 19, and 20 are all implicated in the Miller-Montgomery requirement.
Yeah, so 20, up to 20. There is one Supreme Court justice Michigan, who I believe is on record, I thought in the opinion, who said he was favorable to up to 25. But that has not become the law at this point.
Thank you.
But yes, so obviously every time you go up in age and you're thinking about everyone who's been convicted of that offense, who've met that age requirement in the history of the court, I mean, you're talking about many, many, many cases. Statewide, it's hundreds of cases. And I think, we had
58 implicating.
approximately 60 that we had cases that with that increase. So, I mean, and that's, potentially 60 hearings that are lengthy in nature that, have all of these issues that I mentioned. So, it's significant. It definitely is significant. So,
Excuse me a second, Judge.
Yes.
I just want to make the point to anybody who is speaking, we need to make sure we're really close to the microphones to be picked up.
Okay.
And there is a handheld if you want to use it. Underneath one more. Yeah, but you have to push and hold and then it'll turn on.
how's that? Is it?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
On that commercial, can you hear me
Thank
now?
you.
Okay, thank you so much.
okay. It's
Okay,
everybody.
I'll use this. Something else I just want to touch on, and again, I'm at the risk of being called, being said that I'm giving a filibuster here. I'm trying to give you some highlights, and certainly
okay.
at the end of the day, follow up with questions, please. But there is something else that happens every so often that is an important issue you need to know about, and that is that the Supreme Court and the Michigan Supreme Court as an entity, the state scale, the State Court Administrator's Office, SCAO, and they do a study every so often about the sort of the workload of courts throughout the state of Michigan, and they give an opinion about how many judges are needed, and whether essentially you're properly staffed, or do you need more, or do you need less. And they have been working on that study, and we've been advised that the final results are in the mix and should be coming out in the near future. The early return, if you will, that we've heard is it's likely they're going to recommend an increase in the number of judges because they feel that because of the cases, and it's all data driven based on the number of cases and the workload, they feel that we might need additional, that they will feel that we need additional judges. We don't have a final number. They don't specify that, the divisions. They just say you need X number of judges, and then it's up to us to internally, delegate that. But that's what we've heard. So certainly, I want to get the final information, and certainly I recognize that In addition to adding a judge, there's things that go with that. The judge has a staff. So you need the judge's staff, you need a physical space, you need a courtroom, and there's a number of things. If it's a family seat, ultimately friend of the court, and you have things there. So there's a lot involved. The other issue is, it used to be many years ago, there was a state senator in Lansing who sort of took it upon himself to sort of introduce a omnibus type bill that dealt with all new judges statewide, and it would be a single bill addressing the recommendations statewide. Well, that senator's gone now, so it's sort of been everybody's on their own getting a bill through. So you do have to get a bill through Lansing, you got to get it passed, the House, the Senate, the governor sign it, then obviously the Board of Commissioners would be involved as well. So I certainly will keep you posted as that goes forward. But I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar that we've been advised by the Supreme Court, and that is something they're working on and that we expect will come down at some point here. We also have a number of important projects that have budgetary implications. Just to touch on a few, because again, I don't want to take everyone's time too long here this afternoon, more than I need to. The big one, I think, or a big one, is our case management system. So I think everyone knows, but if you don't, we have an internal case management system in the court. It's what our employees use to pull up information every day about the details of a case. It is older than the hills, and that's probably not giving you a full accurate of how old it is. Someone said it predated Bill Gates going to Harvard or wherever he went many years ago. It's really old. We've been given information that it's sort of at end of life point. So we've been working to replace it. It's a joint team effort with the folks at the Supreme Court, with Executive Coulter's office, I know Chairman Woodward has been present with us in a lot of meetings. We just had one the other day. We're getting regular updates. The process is ongoing, and it's a real collaborative team effort. And at this point, the state of Michigan is really fronting the bulk of the costs. Their goal is to ultimately have a statewide system for all courts in Michigan to be on the same system, which would be hugely beneficial in a lot of ways for a judge, or really anybody for that matter. You could go in the system and let's say you've got a litigant who's got a case in Traverse City, I could pull it up and get information about that case instantaneously, as opposed to right now where everyone's in their own silo around the state and we don't have that. So huge benefit, but obviously there's a cost component there. But right now the state is really taking the lead on it, but that's something that's important that does have some impact with us. I did want to touch just briefly on some cost-cutting things that we have done as a court, because I want to make sure everyone understands that is important, and it's important to me, especially being a former commissioner, being on finance, as I was, going through the process. I recognize the time and effort it takes for commissioners to do this, for staff, for everyone involved, and really how important it is to be respectful of the people's tax dollars. So just to touch on a few things that we have done to really try to be cognizant and save money. So a lot of reliance on technology as a result of COVID. Obviously Zoom became more of a thing. We had done remote hearings before COVID, but not anywhere to the degree we did when COVID happened. And that's something we've continued. So in terms of Zoom technology, e-filing, document workflow, we're always looking for efficiencies and implementing efficiencies to try to move the cases faster and to do things where we can appropriately. Yes?
Did you find cost savings from having to be here 100%? And this is not a dig at anyone about hybrid workspaces, but I'm just curious, did you find there were cost savings where the people didn't have to come in, or was it a negative where they weren't going to the cafeteria, they weren't using the vending machines, things like that? Yeah,
so you're kind of raising the issue of like remote versus in-person proceedings and things like that. And so that's an interesting topic, because I personally have seen very strong and different opinions about that. Some lawyers and litigants love remote. Okay, and there's no question it can have an advantage. So here's a great example. So we have an adult treatment court program in our court, which are people typically with drug and substance abuse issues. They've been convicted, like take an OWI, a drunk driving case is a great example, okay? So a person obviously is a danger to the public, danger to him or herself, and they have a problem. They keep getting arrested for drunk driving. And by the time it gets to us, they've already been convicted now 3 times. This is not like a one-time offense. It's a 3rd offense now, a felony. And obviously it's concerning. So we have a treatment court program. So it's an intensive probation program. Typically people are out in the community, they're not in custody, and they have regular meetings and oversight, and they're testing and they're reporting, and there's counselors and a whole team of people involved. It's a great program, right? And one of the issues is a lot of people are employed. So once a month, or sometimes more often, they have to come into court and have a meeting. Well, if the person has to come physically be here, sit in court all day, some people lose their jobs because of that, because their boss says, no, I need you here. I don't want you going to court all day. Or they have issues and they lose, if they're paid hourly, they don't get paid, and there's issues. So we've heard and seen, and I've seen, someone's ability to be at a job and slip into a conference room, or maybe go into their car in the parking lot when their case is called, and have that and participate remotely may save their job. Or maybe, if they're living check to check with no savings and they're a single parent and with kids, they can now pay the bills that month because they didn't lose a day's pay. So there's a real advantage in certain instances to remote. Some things have to be in person. Obviously, we can't have jury trials by video. We have to do those in person. So I've taken the approach that, to me, remote or electronic communications like that is a very useful tool in appropriate circumstances to help move the cases for the benefit of the people involved. And as long as we can continue to move our cases, I think it's fine. And ultimately, the judge has the discretion in a given case, to remote or in person. Obviously, there are the other side. There are some people who feel like, and I hear this sometimes from certain attorneys or people, we need to forget all this remote, throw it all out. Everybody needs to come back in person 100% and be there because it's not the same, and there's that side. So, I'm not an all or nothing, type person. I just think in general, you can't say always, you can't say never. We have cases, our business court might have a case where 2 giant corporations are suing each other, and they have armies of lawyers and teams of IT people, and they could do anything over video because they've got everything they need. And then we might have in our family court, we might have 2 people getting divorced who are self-representing. They have no lawyers. They can't afford lawyers. They don't even have internet in their house without a Wi-Fi, and they couldn't be on remote if they wanted to. So to say we're going to have one rule apply to every case, I just don't think that's appropriate. I think there should be some discretion in a given case to say what's best and what's appropriate, with input from everybody involved, with the judge being in a great position to make that call. So that's sort of the approach we've taken with that. So we do some of both. We do some remote, we do some in person in that regard. So just bottom line, we've looked at contracts through Westlaw, through various things that provide us resources, whether it be electronic research tools or books or things like that, to either eliminate certain things where they weren't necessary or needed, to change where appropriate, to cut our costs. Reducing printed materials, unless absolutely necessary and really appropriate, we do things electronically now. That's sort of the way of the world in terms of electronic communications, electronic research. We're pursuing grant funding whenever possible. Any grants that we think we're eligible for that are appropriate, certainly if we have grants, continuing those grants. So we're very active in that. Various jury, a good example in our jury office, jurors are paid, right? Well, something as we went through a strategic plan dealing with focusing on juries, because that affects the public who comes in, right? Affects our jury trials, has big impact on the court. Jurors, until recently, were being paid with paper checks, right? Paper checks, think about that. It seems like the world is direct deposit, the world's electronic, it's Venmo, it's various things, and to issue paper checks. Simply by implementing a different process in how they're paid is going to save a bunch of money. So that's one example, and we're continuing to look at things like that. And there's many other examples. I know the Friend of the Court has done some things as well, which certainly Suzanne Hollier could highlight. But there's just a lot of examples where we're being very proactive and looking at ways to cut costs, to be respectful of the taxpayers' dollars, to be able to come before you and say, like I'm saying right now, that we're trying to do things to keep our budget in line, to cut costs where appropriate, and do what ultimately at the end of the day, what is our mission, and that is to serve the public, the people of Oakland County, but to do it in a very cost-effective and efficient way. So those are sort of the high-level points I wanted to touch. I know there was a presentation that we provided to you. It's a PowerPoint. I know the first page is on the screen. I have it in front of me. I think everyone got a copy. If you didn't, we can certainly get you a copy. I'm happy to go through it if you want. You all have it. I'm also happy to answer questions about it if you would prefer I not. Again, I've never been told I don't talk enough, so I want to be respectful of that.
If there's something you want to really point out, hit the highlights, but I do want to open it up to the commission to ask you questions. So.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, was there a question?
Oh, I can wait till.
Oh, okay. Absolutely.
I want to make sure that you talk about. The
yes. So obviously, just to touch, thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. So obviously, there's expenditures, there's budget data. Just to kind of quickly go through a few things, I guess, on here, and some of it I've already touched on: the circuit court, the number of judges, the divisions, the things that we do. I didn't touch on everything, but I know there's more information here about what we do. The juvenile caseload, I think that is probably worth noting. If you look at, there's a page, juvenile caseload, and I could probably, if I do this right, hey, look at that. So easy, even a judge can do it. Look at that. Okay, here we go. Juvenile caseload. If you look in general at the numbers, understand, again, things do go up and down over time, but you'll see going back to 2021, 1742, we see a big increase. We've seen another big increase 2023, kind of flat, somewhat flat, but a little bit of an increase 2024. But historically, where we are with juvenile caseload 2024 versus where it was 22, 21, it's been a pretty big increase. And obviously those are important cases in juveniles, and that's something to sort of keep in mind, is that that's really important, because we're talking about young people committing crimes, okay? That's what this is. And there's a lot of young people who, whether it's peer pressure or getting caught up with the bad people, with bad people around them who steer them into trouble, but maybe the person, is a good person who made a mistake, and there's an opportunity to hopefully correct that person, so their behavior, so that down the road they don't become that habitual, long-time person who's going to prison someday. And so the juvenile caseload is really important, because it's not just right now, it's the future. It's people, are they going to have lifelong criminal records, serious matters, assaultive, infecting other people in a serious way in the future and protecting society? Or is this something you can, a good person learns a mistake, you know what, I just made a mistake, I'm not going to do that again, and you can kind of get them back on a more positive path. So this is really important, and there's obviously a lot of those cases that have moved up. PPO, the next one was PPO, personal protection orders. This is, could be many different things. Typically what we see are, someone is stalking someone, someone's threatening somebody, and the person who would be in the victim situation comes to court and wants a personal protection order, protecting that person, getting an order that the other person's not supposed to have contact with them, and various things. And obviously, as the numbers show, those numbers have gone up as well, and most recently. And those can be very time sensitive. And that's the other big point of that. Someone could come to court and they want a PPO now because something just happened this morning. Something could be happening right now and they want that order. So these are sort of a drop everything you're doing and you need to handle the PPO right now. So that obviously affects you, making sure that we can handle those on a very time sensitive basis. And then just some general other information, civil, criminal, new filings, reopened cases. Again, you see sort of the numbers are what they are in terms of an increase there. So those were the main points. I know there's a slide in here about new mandates. I know I touched on that, about the juvenile lifer and various things that affect our workload. I guess probably I should wrap things up here somewhat. So I'll just go to the very last slide. On the horizon, I touched on the case management, separation of court data project, that's important. We deal with a lot of confidential records. Commissioner Spence.
How are you doing, Judge Mattis?
Good to see you.
On these 4 items, could you tell us where they are in the budget specifically? Do you know where they are in the book?
Where they are
Yeah, where are they called
specifically
out?
in the book?
Yeah,
I
because I'm
can-
assuming there's some of those are capital, some are not.
I think they are, I can defer to perhaps Rich
'Cause I'm
about
familiar with
specifically,
most
if you're
of
looking
them,
for like
but
what
I don't-
page,
What
what
budget
page
line?
there are, but, I mean, some of them, I will say this, like number 3 is new judicial time study. I touched on that already. That wouldn't be in our budget right now because that's a Supreme Court study they're
Yep.
doing that is going to be given to us, the data, once it's released. So as of now, would not be in the budget. Updated courtroom technology, those are things that we are doing to make sure our courtrooms have updated technology for video, for things. I think during we had a trial, I think it was the Crumbly trial, if I'm not mistaken, some commissioners came to me because it might even have been.
It was me.
I think it was
That was
Commissioner
one of my big
Spitz,
complaints. It was about the technology in the room.
because the world was seeing our court. Judge Matthews, who presided over that trial, was on CNN, and they were literally broadcasting live during parts of the trial. And I think Commissioner Spiz or maybe some other commissioners had said, hey, we need to upgrade our technology. It looks a little old here. We need more state-of-the-art video. So that's what we were told.
Surprise.
So in any event, I mean, that's obviously upgrading. We're in the process of doing that. Obviously, here's a good example of cost. We're being mindful. We have 20 courtrooms plus referee courtrooms. To just go through and do it all at once, I mean, it would be a huge project cost. So we're spreading it out. We're doing them as we can fit it. Sort of, I guess, example would be like a family that has a house, they're putting new windows in, and you're doing windows instead of the whole house at one time, So things like that. But I guess in terms of if you're looking for pages within the budget where these items are, I guess I'd defer to my staff. If we have the answer, I'll give you that now. Chris, I see you raising your hand over there.
I'm sure somebody in the room has it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can email you with the specific information, but the case management system project was.
We'll come up to the mic so they can hear you for one.
Here.
That's fine. Just,
Sorry.
That's
The
okay.
case management system project was something you approved back in April, and that, I believe you'll find that as a specific project, might be under the IT budget.
Okay.
You approved funding for us. We're coming back quarterly to give you updates. The separation of court data project has no cost as of yet. It is a MOU that we're working on with IT, and I believe it will also be part of their budget because it will require an enhancement in the licensing that they have with Microsoft. The new judicial time study, Judge already touched on. There's no request in our budget at this time for that. And then the upgrading courtroom technology, that is part of the equipment fund replacement of our JAVS recording systems.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
So Commissioner Spiz, those items that the case management system and then the last one, the courtroom technology, those are on page 78. You'll see those in the infotech operations line. There's $2.3 million in there because those are things that are already on IT's radar. I am unfamiliar with what the separation of court data project is.
Okay.
I don't know if IT has it in their budget, or we haven't discussed it in our weekly meetings either, so I'm not sure what that is, so I would guess it's not in the budget.
okay, so those two that you brought up on page 78 in that line item, so are those budgeted for 25 and will carry over into 26, 27?
Yeah, because
Because I don't see a big jump, that's why I'm asking.
well, the JAVS updates have been going on for a while, and those are, they're kind of an ongoing project. As we discussed with some of the other capital stuff, it'll take 14 to 16 months to get some of these things completed.
Right. Did we?
Commissioner Long.
Well, let me get my microphone good so I don't get in trouble. Thank you. So on page 77, I have a line item question. Might be for Cheryl or Judge.
Sure.
730450, defense attorney fees. So it might be because I might answer my own question, but It was 394,000 in 2024, and then we're budgeting now for 1.1 million. Is that more attorneys, defense attorneys?
Chris, if I may, the Commissioner, I'm sorry.
Yes.
The 394 is the 6-month number.
Okay.
So if you look back, the 500,000 in the historical 23 and 24 numbers are closer to that number. And I think Chris can probably answer the question regarding the cost for those defense attorneys.
Okay, because I see in 25, we were 857, so we're a little along, closer. And then, but now it's 1.1 million. So is it more attorneys, more the raises, or what accounts for that?
Commissioner, it is the MIDC rates being applied to some of our attorneys. We have made some changes in the funding. We're also working towards potentially having a pod approach, if you will. So we'll have kind of firms that will represent our attorneys or represent our clients in juvenile only. In the criminal division, MIDC often represents. They handle most of the cases. That's why this number isn't larger.
So I want to make sure everyone understands a couple things. MIDC's Michigan Indigent Defense Commission. Years ago, judges appointed lawyers. So if someone wanted an appointed attorney, the judge would appoint the attorney. There was a thought process that was sort of a conflict. That the idea was if you have an attorney appointed by the judge and he or she knows they're getting appointed by a judge, they're not going to fully represent their client because they're going to be afraid of upsetting the judge. They won't get appointments. So that was part of the process. So the idea was this entity was created whose job it is now to appoint attorneys to represent people so judges aren't involved. All right. So which address that issue, but of course now it takes longer. That causes cases to lag a little bit because it's not as efficient it's not as fast as when judges would appoint and have a room full of lawyers and say, hey, how about you represent him? And it's like right now, you move the case along. Now it takes weeks and weeks for that appointment to occur. But the other issue that we've seen is there were different levels of pay. So lawyers appointed were being paid different amounts for the type of case. So if you're handling an adult criminal defendant, you get paid one level. If you're handling a juvenile defendant, you get paid another level. If it's a termination of parental rights case, maybe you're being paid a different level. So of course the lawyers are saying, hey, where do I make the most money? I don't want to handle these cases over here where I'm getting paid the lower amounts. I want to be paid the higher amount. And that created a problem because now we don't have as many lawyers willing to do certain types of cases, which means things are getting delayed and adjourned, and it's slowing everything down. So there was an effort to sort of more standardize the level of pay so that it wouldn't have this situation of lawyers not wanting to do certain cases because they didn't feel they were being paid enough, which created a major logjam and slowing cases down that again are affecting families and kids and individuals, and their cases are living a lot longer and causing a lot of problems.
Commissioner Long, just to clarify, MIDC is budgeted elsewhere. This is just increase of the rates that the other attorneys are being paid to match what's in MIDC. There are no MIDC numbers in these budgets.
And I remember that they got that raise that went through. And so can I ask you something?
Separately, they
Cheryl,
have their own budget review.
Right. Can I ask you something? Though the unaudited actuals, are they through the whole budget? That's 6 months.
That's 6 months on. Yep, all of them.
6 months. Okay.
Because we're still in the middle of.
Correct.
Not the middle.
That's the first 6 months.
Zooming up on the end of it, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And one thing, and again, not to pile on too much here, but something else that comes up frequently enough, it's an issue for us, is every now and then we'll get someone who says, I want to represent myself. I don't want a lawyer. And obviously, sometimes these are very serious cases where people either, it's an attempt to terminate their parental rights, take their kids away forever. They're no longer the legal parent. Or, a person's facing a serious felony where they can go to prison for a long time. So it's common that a judge will appoint what's called standby or advisory counsel to be there sitting next to the person during the proceeding, so that if the person doesn't know the law and they have questions, this lawyer can at least assist them. Hugely beneficial for the litigant, for the process, for everyone, but MIDC doesn't pay for that. We have to pay out of our court budget. So that's another cost of counsel where a judge has made a determination this is really appropriate, we have to pay that. And obviously the alternative is the person has no lawyer advising, helping them, assist, and the process is going to take longer and there's going to be issues that occur.
We're going to give you about 5 more minutes. I'm going to give Commissioner Spiz the floor.
Thank you,
and
Madam
then
Chair. I got
Commissioner
a couple
Taylor,
line item
and then
questions. So
Commissioner Smith-Charles.
I have a couple line item questions, Judge, so you may want to hand it off unless you think you can handle it.
Yes?
All right, on page 77.
Okay.
State institutions, we're budgeting about $2 million right now.
Big book,
Page 77.
Big book, always big book.
77.
Yes.
Page 77, big book, line 731843, state institutions. In the past 2 years, we were about 900,000. We're about at $1 million so far if I do 6 plus 6, right? But we have budgeted 2 million. What's driving that increase over the next 3 years?
The cost to house a juvenile has gone to up to $1,000 a day in many instances. The price that was at $80 or $200 a day has steadily increased since COVID, much due to many of the facilities closing and the high cost of just maintaining those.
I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. The cost has increased just incredibly. And we have facilities regularly that we are paying $1,000 a day to house an individual. No, there's no bill that goes to parents anymore. They don't do that. They stopped that. The other thing that I did just want to point out on that defense attorney line item, Brent and I worked very closely to try and move money from other line items to balance that, to get that extra money. So it may not necessarily be an overall increase in our budget, but it is kind of shifting the funds around. We put the extra money in state institutions because that is just growing at such a rapid rate. And it came from another line item.
And I do have 2 other questions on this page. The visiting judges also doubled. Is that the same issue? Cost, or are we using more visiting judges?
I think I touched on that a little bit earlier. That is something that we've done historically, is used visiting judges to help, instead of coming to you and saying we need an additional full-time judge.
Which is fair. I'm just wondering why it's doubled.
So that's that was done. Visiting judges are typically retired judges. There's no, they're not given benefits, anything like that. It's just assisting. And we did receive grant funding for visiting judges.
The grant funding ends in December, so that is to help us maintain.
Okay, so grant funding ends, which is why the costs go up.
Right, and that is something we're going to look at going forward about continuing visiting judges if we don't continue to get grant funding.
Understand.
But it's been helpful up till now.
And my final question on this page, very bottom of the page, 750154, expendable equipment. Because if it ties to the last item up here, why are we dropping the 50K over the next 3 years is really my question. Because right now, this year it's budgeted 213K, but then we dropped to 50K per year.
Expendable equipment.
So we'd love to have more. We'd love to have more. You're welcome to give us more. But I believe
Good answer.
that is representative of a carry forward that we had from last year. Money that came from our mediation fund that the board approved transferred into our expendable equipment that we have slowly been working to spend and update different furniture and different items around the courthouse.
So is that related to the 4th item on here, or just furniture, as you just mentioned?
Nope, that is not related to the 4th item.
Okay, it's other equipment. Got it, thank you.
Okay. And I just wanted to ask you, please, if you would speak to the grants, since 95% of your budget is from grants. Are they federal grants, state grants? And I know that you are looking at ways of funding those in case they go away, but could you tell us the percentage of state, federal?
Chris, do we know
If you know.
the breakdown?
That's not true. It's not.
That number is primarily the friend of the court funding, which is a little different than a regular grant because it is a statutory required amount. It's not like a grant we have to apply for every year. Suzanne could speak to it best, or Jeanette, but the majority of that funding is the friend of the court money. And it's just 95% of our revenue, right? So, and it does not include our child care fund reimbursements.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And then what about, do you have any others? I guess that's not with any other grants.
We receive grant funding from the State Court Administrative Office for our treatment courts, the adult treatment court, the juvenile drug court, the juvenile mental health court. We also have grant funding that was for strategic planning. We have grant funding that has been covering, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm all up on cold medicine right now. The virtual docket backlog reduction grant, yes, which has been paying for our visiting judges and has been paying for some positions, all of which that funding ends in December.
Okay, and those are all state or federal? I'm trying to.
Those are state, our CPLR grant is a little bit of a combination. It comes from the DHHS, but it is based on federal funding.
Okay, and then I just had two, really just, I wanted for clarity for me. On your first page, on page 75, there's something called video copying. What is that?
Video copying, do we even have much of a dollar
Nope,
figure
it's
in there
very
anymore?
small, very
we
small.
used to sell copies of the videos from the court, and we stopped doing that many years ago.
Okay.
So I believe that Friend of the Court still does, but we do not.
Okay.
It's $100. Yeah, that's a possible revenue that we could get, but it would require a special circumstance and judicial approval to sell a copy of video.
Perfect. The other thing I just wanted to know, because I've seen it throughout, is your incentives. What are your incentives? I mean, each one of your little areas have that. Just curious.
Incentives are typically something that we would use for treatment court. They would be incentives for individuals maybe graduating from one level to another level within the treatment court.
I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to assume. Thank you very much. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Yeah, those 5 minutes are up, so I will yield my time. Mr. Spiz kind of highlighted what my questions were.
Okay, Commissioner Powell.
I just wanted to piggyback on Lenny's question again. The reason why she was asking you about the grants is because we're just trying to make sure there won't be, or no expected cuts from federal that affect anything with the court. So when she was trying to break it down, we've just been monitoring every department just so that we want to take care of home.
Sure.
The goal is of the commissioners. So we're just trying to see if there's any interruptions. Is there anything coming up? Did y'all need to put it on our radar? So we can try to, watch that. So that's why, just to kind of clear things.
Sure, and anything that impacts the state budget could definitely impact our grant funding that comes through the state and through DHHS, and that comes, the federal funding that comes to Suzanne. Hopefully they'll leave alone, but you never know, right?
But nothing so far.
We have heard nothing so far.
Okay, that's all we're saying, okay.
Not as of now, but we will let you know immediately if we hear something.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We were impacted by one federal cut, and that was actually a cut that OCHN, they cut the funding for OCHN's liaison for our adult treatment court. Yes,
What was that amount?
Well, I believe for them, it was about $100,000 a year, give or take.
Okay.
We have asked for additional funding in next year's adult treatment court grant from the state. I won't know whether we get that until probably September, late August.
Okay.
So it is possible that we will have to come and revisit that funding from the board, should they not give us that.
And what was that for treatment? You said treatment court?
Adult
treatment.
The
okay.
adult treatment court, which the use of that program, years ago, it used to be 30, 40 people. We were last week at 107, because now, the law changed, and basically you can have a choice of go to jail or go into adult treatment court. And so the usage of that program and people adopting into that program has risen quite a bit. And because we want to keep people out of jail, we want them to stay productive, we have tried to not cap it, even though we have not had any increases in the funding. And so it is, we need that other position. We're going to need it.
So that is stuff that we are trying to because we don't want that to be interrupted, because again, it's helping people.
Yes, it's a big program, very
Right.
important.
Okay, so 100K from
Roughly
OCHN.
100K.
Okay, got it. All right.
We'll wait until we hear back from.
That's fine, but keep us on the radar.
All right.
Thank you for that. Yes, that's true.
Commissioner, what I was going to briefly add to that was simply that the actual grant funding that was lost, it was actually a health grant that was lost. OCHN gets their own money. So it wasn't that we lost any grant funding, it was OCHN that lost the grant funding. We contract with OCHN to make use of this service. So it's not dollars that we in Oakland County as an organization lost, it's dollars that OCHN as an entity lost, and they're looking for a way to kind of backfill that or identify a funding source so
Right.
that way we can continue that contract.
But the good thing is, us commissioners wanna know stuff like that, because if they fall short, we fall short, and we need to find the money so we can keep this program going, cause again, it's helping people. So, thank you, but just so you know too, keep that on our radar, cause we need to make sure we try to figure out to find that type of money for those programs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Spiz for one more.
Yes, one final question. I just noticed at page 83, there's a line item transfer out of 120K that's planned for 2026. It's,
Page 80.
nothing else is transferred out, just that one line item. So I'm wondering if you have any idea, page 83.
3.
Yep, transfer out 788001.
Related to. Our largest transfer out is the friend of the court.
Chris?
But
if
it's
I
out of
can
the
jump
business
in.
court,
It's-
it kind of
it's-
threw me off.
That's for, there's a one-time request for upgraded securities
Oh,
for the
yeah,
courtrooms.
that's
So
the
that is a
120.
transfer out that goes into the project work order fund to facilitate those security updates for the court.
It's funding that
Thank you,
you
Brad.
gave us that is going into a project. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. I think we've concluded the circuit court budget hearing unless anybody from fiscal or any place else has something they want to add. We're good? Okay.
I guess I just want to close by saying thank you. Again, being a former commissioner who was on finance, I went through this process as you are. It's a lot of work. I know it. You're not just reviewing our budget, you're reviewing lots of other entities' budgets. We really very much appreciate it. I do. And just if you have any questions at any point going forward, reach out to us, please. Rich, Chris, myself, anybody, Suzanne, we will get you the answers you want. We'll get you the information. So at the end of the day, you can do your duties and your obligations and have an informed decision. But thank you very much. We appreciate it on behalf of the entire circuit court. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a couple-minute break here so the staff can Resume the budget hearings now. Our next group is the clerk and register of deeds. So if you would
No, I need more room.
please introduce yourself and your folks that
That's
are
all
with
right.
you today.
I'll do something.
Clerk
Thank you.
Brown,
Yep,
and
thank you.
I'm glad to see you heard the color requirements for the outfit of the day.
Mine's red. Am I red? I'm red. Yeah, okay.
The other
Yeah,
thing
that's fine.
I'm gonna mention right up front is, we want you really close to the microphones.
Yep.
Because they're not picking up everything, and there is a handheld right here if somebody needs it.
No, we're good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate
Okay.
that. Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Brown. I'm the Oakland County Clerk Register of Deeds. I'm going to ask my amazing team to introduce themselves. Before they do, I just want you to know and appreciate the level of expertise that we have in our office. All of my chiefs here are consulted by people across the state, across the country for their expertise. We are so lucky to have the best of the best here. So I want them all to come up and introduce themselves. So whoever wants to go first. Go ahead, Joe. Go first.
I'm Joe Roselle, the county's Director of Elections.
Come on, Craig.
I'm Craig Jones. I'm the Chief Deputy Register of Deeds.
Hi, Jennifer Howden, the Chief Deputy County Clerk. And I'm not exaggerating when I say they are the best of the best. So we are all so lucky to have them here in Oakland County. Okay, I think I'll put my glasses on. Every year I come before you. I share changes to our budget, and there are some things I've mentioned over the years, like a need for generators, or that there's no break room for my Register of Deeds staff, or I'm the only county-wide without their own bathroom. Different things throughout the years, right? But every year I have requested fire suppression. And while you all have voiced concern, the only progress I know of is that, and I'm grateful for Commissioner Smith Charles invited me to EDI to present on the issue. And although I'm not in charge of facilities, as I said, I'm the clerk register, I did contact a professional. I had them come out, evaluate, and give a quote on just my areas. And so I also have tried another approach. If we are not going to have fire suppression to put out the fire, then at least, and honestly in my best case scenario, we would have both of these things. That is to at least have electronic copy of our historic records. So as I said, I tried another approach. When you had millions of, I'll say, leftover ARPA money, I asked Chair Woodward if $200,000 could be allocated for the scanning of our historic vital records books, specifically those books, because I knew that they would qualify under ARPA. I actually received a quote for a little over $1 million to scan all of our records, including Register of Deeds records, but I wasn't sure that all of them would qualify under ARPA. So I just limited it to our vitals books. Now I just want to add, this is not something that, because it was suggested by someone in EDI, that can't an intern just put these on a copy machine and scan them? The answer is no. These are historic records. A professional who would do this would be wearing gloves. They're huge books. They don't fit on a regular copier. And because they're so old, you have to use really advanced technology to make sure you're picking up all the ink because it's faded, and you want to be able to read them. That's the whole point of it. So anyways, I was told that there would be money when I asked about the ARPA money at the end to do that for the $200,000. I even brought it up in Democratic caucus at one of the meetings, just so y'all, not all, sorry, I can't get to both meetings since I have to work that one. But yet when the time came, I think the last few $1 million went to Thrive, not a penny to my office. Little frustrated. So now, at our departmental budget review meeting that Cheryl and Brian asked us to attend, unfortunately, they weren't able to attend. I would have preferred that they reschedule, but needless to say, we had that meeting. I requested $200,000 for the Vitals books to be scanned. That is the only one-time budget appropriation I requested this year. And I think you all know, I don't come to you all the time asking for money. I don't ask for special projects. And oddly, the day after I presented an EDI, I was sent an email from Cheryl notifying me that the request was denied. Coincidence? I don't know. If you're not putting in fire suppression and you're not going to appropriate funds to have our historic records scanned in, how am I supposed to safeguard our records? You talk about values and priorities. I'm asking you, I'm begging you to please make protecting our records, our staff, our customers, and the history of our county a priority.
Clerk, I'm going to stop you there just for a second, and that's to say there has been ongoing discussion between us and fiscal on the subject of the $200,000 to $250,000 that would be required to put the records digitizing process in place, and we are going to try to find that money. I have a commitment from fiscal that we do want to try and resolve that, and we are going to make it happen. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to fall in here, but I had that discussion with Mr. Leffler this morning, so.
I appreciate that, Madam Chair. I'm sure I could find some places in some other people's budgets who are increasing their staff,
We'll
which are
figure it out.
ongoing
What I
costs,
will
but-
say is that I think everybody understands on a deeper level these record books that need to be digitized, I mean, and all of that, and that it is not just buy a scanner and an intern pumps papers through for day after day. This is a different kind of thing. So we
Yes.
do want to, you have been heard on that subject.
Thank you. And again, I appreciate that. I guess I will emphasize that the $200,000 is just for the big vital records books. That does not encompass all of our historic records. So, you know,
But it's a start.
one step at a time. I'm appreciative of whatever can be invested in the history of our county.
Excuse me 1 second.
Just one clarity, clerk. You said to do all records, it's about $1 million. Is that 200 up from that million though? Because
Yeah, that includes, that would include it. So now it
Okay.
would bring it down to a little over $800,000.
Okay.
So, and I want to clarify, it's not every record we ever had, right? So in deeds, we go back to 1964, already having that digitized. What I'm talking about is our historic records.
Okay.
So, and you know, people use these records for genealogy. It's history
Clerk,
here.
just
So
know this. Yesterday, I inquired about this with IT, and we hear you. And I just told Marsha, like, this is enough. I think you've been asking for this about 3 years now. Yeah, so
I haven't been here 20, but.
just know you, and I want to tell Chair Markham, I really want to spearhead this because this, I asked about, y'all know I asked about this yesterday. So yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So again, that's to me one part of the puzzle, but I appreciate that. So I did want to remind this body unanimously voted to authorize the Oakland County Building Authority to finance the retrofitting of county buildings to add security, life safety, fire suppression, and barrier-free systems in 2018. But this isn't just about fire suppression. To that point, please support increasing our security camera capabilities. There are new crimes pertaining to recording fraudulent documents in the Register of Deeds office, and having the technology to properly retain footage of fraudsters at our counter and our cash register would be a very helpful tool to identify and charge these swindlers. And again, that's not in my budget, that's in another budget. I know that they've been asking for that for a number of years, so I just ask that you consider that as well. Moving on, getting into the budget books, I have found some discrepancies or errors in the budget book. So do you all have those?
Yeah, we
Because
all
I'm going to
have
refer
them.
to page numbers.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first, page 165. The money allocated to election filing fees late, which is line number 630609, should be in late penalty fee 631064. This was changed in 2023, as you can see from the actuals, but the budget is in the wrong account. So we ask that that be corrected. Also in elections, the same account string is used twice with two different names. Election recounts and election recount forfeitures, that's also on page 165, number 630616. So if you look and, the numbers are in sequential order until you get to the last one, it then has, again, 630616 with a different name. We have no idea where that came from. Just pointing that out. In the categorical analysis and budget highlights book, that's the little one, right?
Small book.
Do you have this one?
Yep, we all have
The
it.
mini
That's the
version?
real
Okay. On page 32, it lists in 2028 a decrease in revenue. It says tracks. It's actually tracked index, but I have no idea what this is talking about. Our new system with our new vendor goes live this November, knock wood. Cross fingers, throw salt, whatever. We're very excited about it. But I asked to move revenue just because it's a new vendor, so how everything will be working is just shifting. So all I asked was to move revenue and enhanced excess fees to tracked index. There's nothing that should be changing in 2028 unless fiscal knows something that I don't. So I have no idea what that's about. Next, while all books are dated July 1st, I didn't receive any on that date. The first one that I got was July 3rd. I'm really not sure if that complies with the statutory requirement, but the county executive message repeatedly states a 4% increase in compensation for the first year and then 3% after that, including, if you want to look on page 12, but that references fiscal year 2025, and this is fiscal year 2026 that we're talking about. So I know that's not what staff received in 2025, so I was confused by that. And the categorical book actually says it's a 2.4% increase. Now, while the big book, I'll call it, as again, states that it's a 4% increase in the first year, the numbers actually show a 2.4% increase in the pay, but for staff, but it isn't compounded. Meaning if, let's just say, I'm going to use round numbers because math isn't my strong suit. So let's say somebody makes $100,000 in 2025. A 2.4 increase, that would make it $102,400, right? In 27, it would be $104,858 because you're adding the 2.4 onto the $102,400. But instead, the way the book is done, it's $104,800, meaning they took what it was in 25 and just kept that number and just added 2.4% to that, not to what the previous year. So it's a difference in money. Now, in that example, it's $58, and that might not seem like a lot, and I know that most staff, at least my staff, don't make $100,000, but we know that there's some people who make much more than that, and my staff makes a lot less than that, but unfortunately. But anyways, you multiply it by the thousands of employees here, and it adds up quickly. So I know we want our numbers to be real. I think we all talk about that. I think we all strive for that. So I just request that somebody double check the math in this. Pages 46 to 51 in the big book, going back in the book. I'm sorry, what page? 46, between 46 and 51. So of the big book. Yep, the big book. And again, I didn't look at the other departments for this, I just looked at mine. But the list, the expenditures are the same as the revenue for every year. That's not correct. And you can see that on pages 157 and 159. We always have more revenue in my division than what we spend. But listen, if you want to give me enough money to spend the same that we bring in, I will be done now. I'll say thank you. I'll have my fire suppression. I'll have my money for scanning, and we can call it a day. And then I don't have to be a donor department. But I'm not sure. It looked like somebody just copied and pasted what the revenues were, and then put that same thing and just changed the expenditures. So, in addition, I guess I have the privilege of having these books in my office as the county clerk, that they are available to the public through my office. And so I have the opportunity to look through these, right? And I look through them. I look at my budget. I look at what's going on. I read them. And I think that's my obligation as a countywide elected official. What I noticed was this year there are 137 pages of information that are missing. Information that has always been in our budget books before. Salary and position information and organizational charts / salary and position summaries. Now, when I received the final approved budget book for fiscal year 25, so for last year, I got that in April. Even though that was done way before that, I noticed an error in my staffing numbers, and I inquired about it and thought it was corrected until I saw this book in July. Without having all this information that has historically always been in these books, I can't find where the mistake is being made. So I am formally requesting that this information be put back into the book and available to the public for full transparency. And so departments like mine can ensure the correct information is out there. Last thing before any questions, we did transfer $12,000 to the prosecutor for line item 730422, which is court transcripts. We may ask to transfer more in the future when, knock wood again, our process is amended to better suit whose budget should be held accountable for paying for the court transcripts. Some of my words may seem harsh. I will say I'm frustrated beyond belief. I ask that you accept my suggestions and my findings in the spirit to which they are given. To ensure that Oakland County is the best county government it can be, I strive to make my office a model, not just for the rest of the state, but for the nation. And as I said, we are recognized nationwide. I'm asked to speak on panels at national conferences. My staff, I just hope that all departments would strive for that same model of excellence. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Brown. I will open it up to the commissioners, starting with Commissioner Powell.
One thing that we are monitoring per department, because of all the federal changes, is there, and I see you put on here with the grant revenue and grant funding that is received, revenue expenditures and positions. Is there any request you have for us of anything that has impacted your department that we need to know or need to be on our radar for future funding?
So in the future, so with our grant funding, we have two grants. One is remonumentation. That's money that we collect statutorily from every recording in the almost every recording in the Register of Deeds office. We collect that, we then give it back to the state, and then they grant it back to us for us to do our remonumentation. I bring that to you every year. The other grant that we have been receiving for the last few years is through the State Court Administrative Office for our East Service Center. We have hired law students and paralegal students to assist. We can't give legal advice, but we have a lot of people who don't have attorneys, but they are interacting with our court system. And so we have hired these students to help our customers in the e-service center. So that funding has been reduced this year. We're hoping, you know, again, in a perfect world, we'd like to expand what we can offer there, and that would require actually some more physical space, but that's another conversation down the line. Federally, I will say it is likely in fiscal year 2027 that we may be purchasing new voting equipment. The federal government has already said that they will not give money to states that have DEI. I don't know how that would trickle down to us, that we wouldn't be able to get funding for our new election equipment. I don't have a crystal ball as to how that would affect us, but that's a possibility.
Okay, Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Thank you. I thought all hands would be up. So I think we all heard what we heard, and I feel like it's silly to not address it. The presenter said there was upwards of 100 and some odd pages not accurately in the booklet, and then also duplication of columns. And so, you know, shame on me, because this is my fault. I told my husband today, I'm like, I don't line by line and get my calculator out with all these things, because there's people paid well to do that. Now I gotta go home and eat, you know, crow, because, you know, so I'm just saying, obviously it won't be today in this hearing, but between now and when we have to actually make a decision on things, I think we need to make sure that that's addressed.
Well, on the subject of the missing pages, this came up yesterday.
Okay.
And Fiscal changed the format of the book somewhat, so you guys want to just address that? And
Yeah, we changed the format of the book last year, so those pages were taken out last year because there were 100 pages. There's been a lot of comments about what's in, how large the book is, so we took those pages out. We didn't hear from anyone about it being an issue. We still have the org chart for the county as a whole. And so that's what we talked about this year, about replacing some of those pages with the departments and actually what they do. So that's why we took those out. They're not a requirement for the book.
I also want to say that the annual ACFR that we produce for the county, the audit, that organizational chart is included in that document. So once there's that. I do want to address a couple of things after the commissioners have their chance to ask their questions.
do you want to continue?
I would happily yield so that we can hear from Mr. Leffler on this.
I'd love to comment on it too, but go ahead.
You'll have your chance.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the first thing, I just want to make sure, I'm sorry, I had to step out to take a phone call on the $200,000 for the historical, working probably with Commissioner Powell. Okay, appreciate that. I just want to make sure that very comprehensive and following rules of procurement and things like that. But one of the things that I heard in the meeting, and I've said this before, is that there's an opportunity working with procurement if other local units of government or CVTs want to piggyback off of this. I want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity, even though they could pay their own way. The issues of security cameras, yes, we are working with Homeland Security's building safety on those issues, so it is in their budget. We've already addressed 137,000 pages. As it relates to the compensation, for those who are already have collective bargaining agreements, those dollars are already in the budget. The 2.4% relates to those who are non-representative. Madam Clerk, if you please turn to page 74 of the categorical book, there's a thing called 2026 expenditures, non-departmental expenses, net increase of 4.9 reflects a change of $6 million plus for salary adjustment reserve to reflect anticipated employee compensation and step increases. So we do have the number budgeted as it relates so that the people that are here, and the committee members, but also the public, the budget does include or anticipate a 4% increase in next year's budget. So it's in there so that it's not a whoopsie, we forgot to budget. So it is already in on page 74.
Wait, could you repeat that? You're saying there is a 4%?
For those who are not represented, non-represented employees,
So why does it say 2.4?
because the board hasn't adopted we have put a reserve for 4% until this board, or at least our approach is that we put it into non-departmental on page 74. So that's where we put the dollars this year.
So why isn't it compounded, the 2.4?
I'll have to look back in terms of the 2.4, but what's going to end up happening if there's a 4% that's approved for FY26, and then the following year, what's in the budget is going to be a 3% and a 3% thereafter, just because we're just kind of get ready to anticipate what may be coming.
Okay, so, and with the cameras, I just to be clear, I'm not asking just for more cameras. Really what's vital to us is the retention of the footage, because, and that requires more, from what I've been told, right, that it's expensive to store everything. You've talked about that when we've talked about scanning all of our documents, right? So to ensure that we have a long retention period for the footage. It's not just having the cameras, it's being able to retain what has been filmed.
Correct. And so from that perspective, we work with IT and others to say, okay, how much, quote, storage does the county need to maintain? And the question that I would just ask that is, what is the duration? The last thing I would just ask back to your chief of elections or you is that if there's going to be a budget request for new voting equipment, would really like to know what that number is. I get it, but I appreciate you probably know what a voting machine costs, how many you need. I mean, I just
So
need
the RFP process hasn't even started. So we don't know what even the options are.
So I guess the question I have is, if you have election equipment now, it would be it would be very helpful for us to say, if you're going to have a replacement, like a capital improvement replacement or equipment replacement, we would be more than happy to start budgeting for that or anticipating that in our next few years' budget, so that if you have 1,000 machines and each machine costs $20,000, we'll put an escalator on it. We'll just be more than happy to work with you. So, but we would like to have some type of
yeah, I appreciate that. Again, unfortunately, the RFP process they're just putting the RFP together. Oh, well, I know, but we have time for that. Joe's saying there's only one vendor that meets the federal requirements right now. It happens to be our vendor, but that we currently have. But I mean, to give you a ballpark, it's like $5,000, I would say, per piece of equipment. But I give an asterisk with that, because the state still has HAVA money, and we don't know how much, because they contributed a great amount, as well as the state legislature kicked in a great amount. They kicked in $10 million almost 10 years ago. So we don't know what will fall to us. Not only do I not know the price, but I don't know what else will be contributing, what other sources we may or may not have because of the federal government saying, you know, if you have DEI, you're not getting any federal dollars. So I appreciate it, but I would say $5,000 per equipment. We can give you an inventory of what we have right now, so you can, you know, do the multiplication, but it's all ballpark right now. Again, that was $5,000 for what we have right now. I don't know what it's going to be in the future.
But if I'm hearing what I'm hearing from fiscal, it's basically we want a number that we can use as a placeholder.
Yeah, I understand.
Out forward in the out years. It really doesn't apply to 2026.
Yeah, right. And that's why, I mean, it's in the future. It's not for this. It's not going to be an impact in this fiscal year. I appreciate wanting to, you know, plan for the future. I will say, although, I mean, I say this kind of smirky, but how many years ago was the law changed for the forfeit for the filing fee? Oh, 23, right? Yeah. So you all know, you run for office, you can pay $100. It used to be if you won, you got that $100 back. The law was changed in 2023 that money stays in the filing official's office and is to be, it irritates me they didn't make a restricted fund, but it's supposed to be earmarked for elections for voting, new voting equipment. It won't come close to, you know, what we'll need, but that amount, and I know I told Kyle Jen when he was here, like, somebody needs to be keeping track of that, because, you know, it's supposed to be earmarked for that in the future, but it won't cover it all, but anyway.
Okay.
Madam Clerk? Commissioner Smith Charles still has the
Sorry.
floor.
Yeah, and I'll just wrap it up by saying, what you just said and the exchange just now, I know myself as a commissioner would love that to happen already, you know, and you said that folks didn't come, and so just, you know, elevating to process around here, like a lot of this conversation you were just having would have been at that little get-together that you were referring to earlier, I'm certain of. And so getting away from that and specifically saying, I struggle time and time again in these budget hearings because it's just the juxtaposition of the person in the department coming to us saying what they need, and then the executive presenting, you know, a couple weeks ago and saying, you know, this is what's going on. I feel like we're in this little ebb and flow because, quite frankly, I don't understand with our wonderful, wonderful amount of resources we have here, why we can't just do it. Like, why are we talking about $200,000? Why are we piecemealing stuff? We're talking about the sanctity of the institution here, folks, in this clerk's office. Why are we nickel and diming? Like, we gave $50 million respectfully to 3D printing, which I'm all for. It's been a great program. But I still just don't understand why this one right here is so difficult. And I'm really directing that to our wonderful, wonderful county executive, because I just don't get it. Like, why is it so hard? It definitely seems like it should just be. So, you know, you've got support. And Chairwoman Markham, I just want us to do something better than just hear this, then we go put our little books away, and then we're back here next year in the same spot. Which is why I asked, you know, the clerk to come to EDI so we could get a foundation. And then for the next day, for the $200,000 to be denied, it's just a slap in the face to this chairperson of infrastructure. And I would like to see us get it done. Like, let's be proud of that and accomplish it.
Thank you so much. And I just want to, again, reiterate that the $200,000 isn't everything for everything, right? It's just for our vitals books. We still have plenty of information and historic documents.
If I had
not
it,
even.
I'd
it
write
was
it for you right now.
Literally a little over $1 million, right? Like not even 1.1, right? If I'm remembering correctly. Now, I got that bid months ago. I don't know if they would still, you know, respect that and give us that same pricing. The company that I asked to come out and look at everything, they are unique and that they can bring the equipment here. And I can tell you, as the keeper of the records, that helps me sleep at night. I'm not going to sleep if we have to ship our historic documents to some place else. They're here, they come here, they bring their huge equipment here, and they do all the work on site. So our documents never leave. Thank you.
And I think one of the things we want to be clear on is that when we are looking at going out for services and all of that, that we are working with our procurement department. Mm-hmm. So we don't hit a hiccup where you've got all this information and you want to go, and then we're like, yeah, but you didn't follow all this. Right. So I just want to make sure that that conversation is 100%. Very tight between you guys and procurement as we go forward. Yeah, and I do think the conversations we've had about at least the $200,000 to $250,000 number to work on the big books.
The vitals.
It's a
the
start.
Vitals book. Yeah.
Is how I'm looking at it. It's at least a start.
And to your point, when we did have our little meeting, Aaron Wagner was there remotely, and he suggested that, and we did find a savings for us to go through that with something in elections. So, yep, we're doing what we can here.
Commissioner
I always come in
Gershenson.
under my budget. So.
Yeah, I agree with you, Commissioner Charles, and we are really taking notes, and, you know, commissioners put in budget requests, and so we're listening. But I also want to make a point of clarification that you remarked that the remaining ARPA funds, it did not go to Thrive.
Okay.
It was a reimbursement to the county for allowable expenses.
Okay. Okay, well, I thank you for that correction. I thought I heard that in the meetings, but again, you guys had a lot of money to deal with. And all I asked was for $200,000.
Okay.
So it's hard to sit there sometimes for me. I'm going to tell you, it's really hard because I feel disrespected a lot. It's hard.
Madam
So-
Chair, I just have one last thing, if I may.
Mr. Loeffler.
The clerk mentioned about whether or not the book was delivered on a timely basis under the statute. So the document that is dated July 1 is a placeholder, as this is when we printed or the information as of that date. The first document of the book that was delivered to the clerk's office was within statutory requirements, i.e. we had to deliver it to the office 90 days before the fiscal year. So there was a 3-ring binder with the document that was delivered. Once the printing of the book was again in this bound box, this spiral, we delivered a second book to the clerk's office so that there was 2 copies in the event the public came. So just want to let you know, I just want to let the public know that even though the document is dated July 1, that was like our cutoff date, but the document was definitely delivered on a timely basis pursuant to state law.
Actually, Mr. Loeffler, the original book was delivered July 3rd. The second book, and I had emailed Cheryl because I didn't know if there were changes to it because I was confused. She responded to me and said this one was the official one because it was in the pretty printing job. That one I got July 16th, and then this little one, the categorical, I just got inter-office mail August 4th. So I'm not sure what you're referring to, but July 3rd was when I received the first book.
Yes, the July 3rd is within 90 days of the
Okay.
state statute of delivering the county executive recommended budget to you and your office. So,
Okay, well-
and then also too, for the commissioners, be more than happy to schedule additional meetings other than just the presentation in April. And I'm sorry, I was not there. I had another commitment. Apologize that. But your team can always come up and make other appointments at any time.
And appreciate that. I guess if you had another commitment, I would have, and I don't want to, air dirty laundry, right? But you brought it up again. So we all have really busy jobs. We all do. We have things to do, and we took the time. I didn't request the meeting, you did. And for you not to be there and at least say, you know what, something else came up, I'm really sorry, can we reschedule? I think just would have been the respectful thing to do. So we'll move forward, but and it's great that you do that, but we never did that before. It doesn't make that wrong or right, but we never did that. We never did those kind of meetings before. So it's something extra taking out of our time to have to do it twice. I think that's disrespectful to our time too, so. Thank you.
We have about 5 more minutes. I'm going to call on Commissioner Spiz and then Commissioner Taylor. But I do want to comment on the meetings that are happening with fiscal before this process. You guys may have had a hiccup because the right people weren't there, but I've been getting feedback all the way through these hearings, how smoothly everybody thinks they're running. And I think that's part of it, is that there's these pre-meetings with the departments where a lot of the questions are getting sorted out before they come here. I know I am glad that a lot of the conversation has happened before we get here because we're giving everybody like 40 minutes, and that's really not enough to cover everything. So in your particular case, there may have been a hiccup here, and I will apologize for that too, but I do think adding that step a month ahead of time for the departments to meet with fiscal has been, on the whole, a positive thing, unless somebody corrects me. That's the feedback I've been getting directly. So I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have, I think, 3 questions from the big book dated July 1st.
Do I have to open up pages?
Sure.
Okay.
156.
All right, hang on.
156.
156. The very bottom line item, 632-345, tract index.
Yep.
Just wondering, because
Yep.
it went from
Right, I mentioned that.
100,000 to 345?
Right, so, right, I mentioned that in my comments, that I'm moving, so, I mean, you're looking at the general budget. If you looked, it
Yeah.
might be easier to look actually at the Register of Deeds budget, where it's parsed out just by department. But because of, starting a new contract, just how our revenue is coming in and all that kind of stuff, it's just moving from different line items. So I moved, we're still neutral. Nothing has changed in the amounts,
Right.
just in what line items. So
Okay.
it went from enhanced access fees, if you look at that. That I just swapped just because
That's
of
fine.
how our new system is working. So you see that enhanced access fees was 250,000, I dropped it to 5,000. Because now it's going to be coming in through tracked, that revenue will be coming in through tracked index instead.
Yep, I would normally flag that one too. but
So
good
I'm,
catch.
I'm neutral.
Thank you. And my other question, second question, has to do with, on page 158, election supplies. And I mean, I see some up and down in there, but for 26, 27, and 28, it's completely flat. And I would expect to see that during governmental elections, you go higher, and presidential elections, you go higher, and it goes down during, like this year, it will be down.
Yep. So, and maybe things have changed, but I know in the past when I have said that, like to my fiscal analyst or whatever, like, hey, odd years are smaller. Although when the even year November ends up being in the odd year budget because it's after, right? So it's in the fiscal year, the next fiscal year. But there's a huge difference between the odd and the odd and even. And again, maybe it's changed now, but when I've asked in the past, it's just easier to keep it the same than for them to, do it different every even odd, even odd.
I guess
We're fine to change it. I mean, we know that our numbers aren't going to be the same.
From my perspective then,
Yeah.
if you're given that much money in an off year and you need $200,000 to do some scanning, why can't you do it?
Say that again?
If you're given that money in an off year and you're not going to spend $821K in election supplies,
Yeah.
why can't you do some scanning with the extra money? If they're going to do it that way, that's fine, but take advantage of it.
Thank you. Again, I said if the money that I
that's what I
got,
would
since
do.
those pages were the same in the other book, if they were the same, then I have the money and I'm fine.
That's
And
what
I don't
would
have
do
to ask
with
for
my
anything.
budget.
So.
And then I think my final.
It's in a different department, and I really tried to stay true to my budget. I will say, and again, this is nothing on anybody here, but when we had PeopleSoft, these reports were generated automatically every month. And I got one for every single one of my departments. I have multiple departments, and I would get them, and I would see, like, what's going on over here? Why did we spend more here? I really had a handle on where my budget was at, on every single one of my budgets, where they were all at, and do we need to move money, or any of those sorts of things, or hey, why is office supplies higher? What's going on? Who's ordering too many pens or whatever? I mean, I'm at that level. I was with Workday. That doesn't happen. And so so to have these books in my office, like I literally go through these, and was it last year when I freaked out? That it was for the first time where it wasn't actuals in the first column, and because they were the unaudited, and I like freaked out. I'm like, these numbers aren't right. Well, because they were only like 6 months worth of the, anyway, I mean, I look at them. I look at them every year.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. And I believe Workday can get there. I don't know if it's there now, but it should be able to give you what you need. Should be able to.
It was nice, I'm saying, these
You're probably used to
reports were
PeopleSoft,
automatically
yes.
generated every month, and I didn't have to ask anybody to run anything or anything like that, and I had a good handle on everything. I had much better handle. And again, because that money, and I hear you, it's in elections, I'm happy. I mean, right, overall, it's still in my budget, that's fine. I appreciate it.
And then my final question, page 165, actually in elections. Line item 631827, reimbursable general.
Wait, hang on one second.
Just wondering what that is. In general. 140K.
Reimbursement for elections?
It says reimbursement general.
Yep, okay, so as you probably know, we run early voting for the majority of the county, as well as count absentee ballots for, I think now it's 19, it's gonna be 19 now, communities? We're up to 20 now? Okay, we just added another one, everybody. Anyway, we hire the workers, we train the workers, we pay them, they are actually employees because they make so much, especially working early voting. But the locals pay, so they're reimbursing us for paying the workers.
Okay, thank you.
The school district special election.
And same with the school district special election, which is, that's always been the case, well, for however many years that's been the case. So that, if you go way back before 2020, that line item didn't look like this, right? But it has increased over the years because we're taking on more and more.
I guess my only comment would be on it, it's at 140,000 across the board. I would expect the same comment about ebb and flow for the busy.
Yeah, and you know,
election
I'll
years
say
as
like, I guess I probably shouldn't name the community, but there's like a community that we tabulate absentee ballots for. But when it's a, I hate saying smaller election, but I'm going to say a smaller election, or odd year or something like that, or just a municipal election, they do it themselves. They'll say like, you know what, we're just, and we
can
make
handle
like
it this year
an exception to the contract that they do it themselves. So even within what we have, there's some ebbs and flows.
Yep, I agree. Okay, I'm good. Thank you,
Like if
Madam
there was a
Chair.
statewide proposal, they'd probably
Thank you,
want us to do
Commissioner.
it, but if it's just for their municipality, they'd want to do it, so.
And all my questions were answered, but I just wanted to make a comment to Clerk Brown that the Board of Commissioners have put in place a process for additional monies, adjustments or amendments to the budget. And we have, and I'm the chair for that, and I've received that request for your dollars. So that is something that we will be presenting at leadership. So you will be hearing back from us shortly.
Well, thank you. I hope it gets approved.
Thank
So
you.
we can at least start with our vitals books.
Any other commissioner questions?
Still want
Seeing-
fire suppression, though.
What?
I still would like fire suppression.
Okay, so with that, I will call the budget hearing for the Clerk Register of Deeds concluded, and we're going to take again about a 5-minute break so the staff can reset. Hearing. This will be the district court.
I don't even think they hear you. Excuse me, everyone.
Thank you. My soft-spoken vice chair has just spoken. That's right. Okay. We are going to have the budget hearing on the district courts. So I will ask Judge Reed to come forward and introduce your team and tell us all about your budget this year.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Markham, and thank you to the Commission for giving us the opportunity to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Travis Reeds, and I'm one of the district court judges at the. I'm one of the district court judges for the 52nd District Court. I work in the Novi division. We have 4 divisions, as I'm sure you're aware, and each of those divisions has an administrator because each of them has its own unique challenges, and we have staffing, obviously, at each one. We need these positions. They are invaluable to me. Human resources and administration is not my forte and my background, and they save me on a daily basis. So without them, we could not do it. I would like to ask for the time for them to each introduce themselves before we start.
Sure.
Good afternoon. I'm Alexandra Black. I'm the court administrator at 52-1 in Novi.
Hello, I'm Brett Derry. I'm the court administrator at 52-2 based in Clarkston.
Hi, I'm Courtney Morgan. I am the deputy court administrator at 52-3 District Court, Rochester Hills.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Phillips. I'm the court administrator for 52-4, serving Troy and Clawson.
And so each of the admins has their own unique backgrounds, obviously, and each of them help out and have specialties, if you will, in different areas that are invaluable as well. My court administrator, Alex, happens to be the budget guru person. She's the one where numbers just seem to coalesce well in her mind. So she is going to take the lead on the presentation, and then I'll follow up at the very end with a few comments, and then we'll take your questions. So thank you. Alex, you want to take over?
Sure. Thank you so much. I just want to let you know I don't have the big book, and so please don't ask me any questions on any specific page number unless you have one to provide me. Oh, okay, great. Thank you. I also want to say that I feel highly incompetent because I didn't notice that 100 pages were missing. So don't ask me about that either. Okay, so.
Yeah, and I just want to remind the presenters and the commissioners, please speak into the microphones.
I'm going to speak right in the microphone when I say,
I don't know,
I didn't notice 100 pages.
We have yeah, she should use that one, the cordless one.
I'm afraid I'll start to sing.
Yeah, behind you, over there.
So they didn't hear that? Thank goodness.
You didn't hear it? Let me say it louder.
That might be easier.
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all heard, don't ask me about the pages in the book. Okay. We do have our PowerPoint. However, I'm sure you're tired of PowerPoints, but I just want to say that we did incorporate into the PowerPoint that was done very nicely by Fiscal. Jennifer Phillips put together a 52nd District Court PowerPoint because Brian mentioned last time we met a year ago that it'd be really nice to have something that really kind of talked about the courts in general. So she put a great one together. We don't have to go over it. I have some talking points and I want to just focus on those. And then afterwards, if you want to see it, you're welcome to. We're going to make sure that you guys all have a copy that you can look at later. So the 4 divisions of the district courts, I wrote it down so I don't go off script. The 4 divisions of the district court located in the 4 corners of Oakland County serve over 800,000 of almost 1.3 million residents. So let that sink in. That's a lot of the county that we cover. We have 203 employees, including 10 judges. We serve 32 police departments and substations and had 122,489 people come through our doors in person just since January 1. So the 4 district courts had 122,489 people come through the doors in person since January 1. So we served about the same amount via Zoom or Oak Video. So we do a lot. We do a split of in-person and technology. While we had a large decline in caseload during the pandemic, the number has continued to rebound over the past couple of years. And as of today, I had it checked today, we have experienced a 15% increase year to date. So last year we had a caseload of over 91,000. And with this trend continuing, we will exceed 100,000 this year. The largest increase in cases have come among our civil dockets, such as small claims, landlord, tenant, and general civil. Although we've had a general increase in all categories, which is our criminal and traffic docket, most of it has been in civil. These cases do not generate much revenue as the filing fees are minimal. Our revenue has declined quite a bit due to legislative changes over the past 5 years, causing the reduction of criminal cases, which is now back to trending upward, but it's unlikely we will see the caseload numbers in the criminal areas as we did pre-pandemic for quite some time. The court continues to assess and collect in every way possible through wage assignments and tax garnishments as allowed by law. However, as of right now, the increase in caseload only reflects more work, not more revenue. So when you look at that and you're like, why has the revenue gone down? That's why. Over the past several years, our use of technology has increased to provide more access to courts, as well as decrease the cost to the courts and litigants. We're using iPads to assist with translation at our counters. We are using more services like Language Line to translate in the courtrooms. We have converted all of our courtrooms to video recording capabilities and are working on obtaining transcription services to reduce the cost of transcriptions and speed up the process of producing them. Other cost-saving measures the court utilizes is a continued employee sharing system that we have in lieu of requesting emergency salary staff when available. We do have to still ask for emergency staff on occasion, but what we do is if I'm down a probation officer and I think that maybe the caseload will allow for maybe Rochester to send somebody over, do some reports, we always do those things before we come and ask for emergency salary positions. In fact, we have our own chief judge traveling between Novi and Troy to assist in handling cases to eliminate some of the visiting judge costs that have recently been incurred in Troy. He does that actually quite frequently. He and I have a running joke. We hesitate to compliment each other, but he did compliment me at the beginning, so I want to say that I've never worked for a chief judge that just runs back and forth between two courts to try to save the county money. So that's all I'm going to say nice about you today. We continue to hire highly qualified staff, many of whom have multi-language capabilities. It's great because we have a lot of diversity and inclusion, and that does include all of these different languages that we can provide. However, our staff is not allowed to translate in the courtroom, but they do help a lot at the counter and reading documentations. We are working with procurement to get an RFP together, put together by the end of this month to standardize our in-person interpreter costs and reduce the expenditures and ultimately the cost to defendants. That interpreter line item we don't have control over because of course we have to give people their day in court in a way that they can understand. And the problem is when we don't have standardized costs, some people are being charged one thing, some people are being charged other, and the problem is our line items have gotten really out of control because there's more and more need for it. So we're doing everything we can to normalize that and reduce our expenditures in that area. For in-person, again.
In-person interpretation, is that for any language? You talking about for any language, or is that like some specific?
No,
for like sign
for
language?
any language.
Oh, okay, any language.
For sign language, any language.
Okay.
Yes, so that's in person or on Zoom, either way. So we make sure that every person can understand what the judge is saying.
Okay, I got it. When it's time, I got
You have a
something to
question?
say about
Okay.
that, yeah.
Okay. Last year, we requested a grant coordinator position. We were told the county had a grant coordinator position in place. However, that individual has no knowledge of the district courts or the grants we receive for our multiple treatment courts. Our judges have chosen to be involved with every treatment court imaginable to serve the community better. We have sobriety courts, drug courts, veterans court, mental health court, and Operation Drive. We run substance abuse education classes, vaping programs, courts and schools, and more. All of these take a lot of resources, but we have found that they serve the public the best. Many of these programs are eligible for grant funds, and we have been limited in what we can ask for because we don't have the staff to request more. We have been denied that position once again. While there are many things we strive to make more efficient and reduce costs, there are some items within our budget we have no control over that are very costly to the county. One major item is the rent that we will pay this year on 3 of our 4 facilities. It will be almost $1 million and will continue to increase. One of our facilities has been mentioned in the past 13 years that I have been attending this annual meeting as being subpar, unsafe for employees, and certainly not up to county standards. The courthouse in Clarkson is a continuous topic, and of greater concern, the lease is up in March 2026. And as far as the court is aware, there's no plan in place of what we're going to do next. We will be
Can
in
I
a
stop you there? Which building is that?
Clarkston, 52-2.
Clarkston, right, okay. Thanks.
We will be in a situation of either renegotiating a last-minute lease on a building we should not have staff in, or go to a month-to-month more expensive lease at that point. In addition to this concern, the court requested and was denied our request for user support specialist on-site IT employees for 3 of our district courts. For the past 3 years, we've requested these positions for 3 of our district courts because we have 1 person housed in Novi, which has to travel between each court when requested. We were allowed 3 contract employees for the past 3 years, but have been advised as a few days ago there is only funding through the 3rd quarter of the current fiscal year. Now, just with a caveat, Cheryl did just come up to me right before we came up and said that they made an error and forgot to let us know that they're going to be funding those contract employees through this next year for the IT. However, we requested actual county employees because this is a need. Several current concerns arise with this news. First, these are people who deserve to know if they have a job. There are people in those contract positions, there are still people that deserve to know if they have a job. So finding out right now is great, but we've been like, we don't know if you're gonna have a job. Second, having 1 IT person for district courts in 4 corners of Oakland County is not efficient and unmanageable. Third, a majority of on-campus departments have their own IT positions. The circuit court alone has 20 to serve their staff, and I'm pretty sure you guys have one for yourselves, right? Do you guys have an on-site IT person here that helps you? Right, so when you,
Specific to the board, no.
Okay, so most departments have, and we have 203 people. Rightfully so. It makes no sense that we are consistently encouraged to utilize technology for efficiency and access to the courts, but we have no one to support it on site. While the perception of some may be that district courts are traffic courts, that is just untrue. Every case originates in the district courts. Recent high-profile cases such as the Oxford shooting, hyperbaric chamber explosion, Goldfish School criminal sexual conduct videotaping case, Beaumont shooting, DTE impersonation murder, just to name a few. If you Google 52nd District Court in the news category, many other cases come up just this year alone that were in the news, high profile. Imagine if those cases being held via Zoom or Oak Video were to have technology issues and we have to tell everyone to wait for our IT person to drive from Novi to Troy, because that's what we'd have to do. What would you do right now if this live stream went down and we had to ask the Novi person to come here to fix it? We need these positions. This is not a wish list. This is a need. This is the world we live in now. So none of the requests that we have been denied are a wish list. And they are needs we have to maintain efficient operations. The thing is, it's great that she just told me that, okay, we're gonna go ahead and fund for another year and we'll see if you need them. How could we possibly not need them beyond 2026? Technology isn't going away. We're going to get MyFile for our criminal cases, so we know that that's coming in the next year or 2. So it's only going to be more of a necessity, and the problem with the contractors is we have one great contractor in place in Clarkson. He's been there for 3 years, and that's great that he's willing to stay in this contract position for right now. The contractor that we've had in Troy, we've had a couple of them. But it's difficult to want to train them in every single thing when they might go get another job tomorrow as a contractor, or we might not have the funding. And then in Rochester, we've had a long list of turnover, so we haven't had any continuity. As you know, the county likes to hire people and retain their people, and that's how you get the best services. So we wanted these positions to be permanent positions for that reason. I don't want to say we'll take what we can get, because it doesn't really make sense to continue to pay for contract positions, to have this turnover, to say we'll do it one more year and then we'll talk about it again next year. These are real positions that we need. This is not a wish. And further, we did reach out to fiscal to obtain an explanation before this about these needs, but we didn't receive a response as to why we were denied, so we could have this discussion. We're respectfully requesting the 3 user support specialist positions, 1 grant coordinator position, and an increase in our visiting judge budget. I'm open to questions.
Can I jump in for a second before we do our questions?
Sure.
Okay, so to follow up with Alex's wants and needs concept, the way we look at this is, even though we're different branches of government, we're all on the same team. And so what we're trying to do is come up with what we really need so all of us can serve the people. That's our job. And we're very happy about being told about the user specialist. The problem is, up till 10 minutes ago, we were told it was gone. We have an obligation. These people have families. Ryan's gone. We had to tell him he got another job. We had to do that. I mean, he's got to pay his bills. He's got a family. So the great guy that we had for 3 years in Rochester got another job. So that's over. Even if we can't get all 3, can we at least phase them in? Maybe 1 permanent position and 2 contract, and then maybe next year we get another one. Something that's a compromise, because we do all have to work together, and I know there's not an unlimited pool of money. But I just wanted to bring that up. That's kind of like the real world reality of when we're not told these things or we don't get the info we need. We have to take action. We have to be fair to these people. With regard to the visiting judge funds, we're not asking for much. I committed, because I'm the chief judge, when I took some action, that I would take up the mantle and try to do the most. We have coverage 5 days a week in Troy. 5 days a month. I'm doing 4 of them a month. So I'm trying to save the county 4 visiting judge checks per month myself by consolidating my dockets in Novi. So I do all of my work in a condensed time frame, and then I drive 1 day a week over, and then I do work in Troy too. I'm committed to that through the end of the year, but we just found out the judge's trial is going to take a month, 4 weeks of trial. That's 20 more days. I can't do all of that. So we asked for $10,000. It's going to cost us at least that much just for that month. And we were told, no, we're going to make it happen, but we're just all trying to work together and get these things done. Last thing is the overtime on the weekend arraignments. So many of you may not know this, you may from other presentations, but because we are blessed with resources in Oakland County, the 52nd District Court does arraignments for many of the smaller courts that are less fiscally stable. For example, like the Pontiac District Court, we do their weekend arraignments. They can't afford to do weekend arraignments. We do their weekend arraignments. We do weekend arraignments for lots of different jurisdictions in the county. There's laws that tell us how fast we have to arraign people. We can't just let them languish in jail. So we have to do them. We have to do these arraignments, and we take on that task because we can. Sometimes it takes a little longer. We ask for a fairly small amount, right, Alex? Like another 8,000 or 9,000 in overtime so that we can make sure we handle this business for everybody. These things seem to be very reasonable, and we're just very confused as to why when we come, we're trying to be very reasonable. We just get told no.
Okay, we're open to some questions. Can I just tell you what Commissioner Spit, I almost called you Judge.
I'll call on the
Okay, go ahead.
But did you have anything else in your presentation before I start opening it up to the commissioners?
Not unless they want to see the PowerPoint for some reason. Okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay, I'll start with Commissioner Spiz.
Yeah, I just brought up a question, just looking at the visiting judge, because that was a topic. There's only $10,000 in the budget today for that for out years, but there's been none in the past. But we obviously have a issue that's in front of us that something needs to be done about it. So it's something that we as a board probably need to discuss and how we're going to potentially fund that going forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. We just don't want to have any surprises, right? So that's why we asked for it, anticipating that we were going to have maybe this issue. And even just beyond this issue, if we have a judge, God forbid, get sick long-term, we don't have emergency salary positions for that, right? We need a visiting judge budget. So the last time we used that money was when we had another judge, quite frankly, that was in trouble and ultimately didn't stay as a judge. But for a long time, we were waiting for the governor to appoint somebody. And that $10,000 can be gone in 2 weeks. I mean, it's, if you use them full time. So that's another reason we asked for more money. So we were trying to be transparent about that. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner
She gonna call on us.
followed by Commissioner.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so you said this position, how much is that position?
The user support
The
specialist.
IT, them 3 positions, like, if y'all could get them, what was the budget ask for that? What's one?
What was it?
For a year,
138,000 for a full-time person per year.
and that's with benefits, 138.
Right,
So
including
this
benefits.
This the tech stuff, 130. You got it, Marcia?
The salary's like 80.
So there'd be like
Okay,
roughly 416,000, I think, if you
138.
multiply times 3.
138, I'm just trying to point out something.
Judge Reeds.
For what he do, you said it was how much? 8,000? Did you say 8 or 9,000 to finish for what for the
No,
year?
it's gonna be 8 or 9,000 just for her trial, which is gonna start November 1st and last for 4 weeks.
Okay, so,
We're gonna.
okay, so,
We don't need any money for what I'm doing.
No, you don't understand. These are small numbers, and I'm irritated right now. It's just small numbers, okay? This ain't got nothing to do with y'all. I'm just happy y'all asking. What's the 10,000 was for?
The 10,000 for visiting judges, yeah,
Is
just,
that 10,000 just to finish us through this year?
it will not get us through the year.
Okay,
That'd give us
what, if you had a magic number, what is that number if y'all could get visiting judges? What's the budget amount for the year?
I mean, $400 a day, that'd be 8,000 for 20 days, and then
25,000.
So about 25 for the whole year?
to get us through the year, just to get us through January 1.
Oh, to get us through okay, so we'll say about 100 grand for the year in visiting judge and fees. Worst case, that's high end.
That would be the worst case. I don't think it'd be that high.
Yeah.
So I just say 50 then.
Yeah, that would be.
Okay, at the bottom line
Say
is there any, okay.
Can we get
So
100?
of your request today, because I'm just ratting off, we're listening.
Right.
Can you send what you said y'all need and give me those figures and send it to us so we at least have that so we can have discussion
I would love
amongst
to.
the commissioners? And all I'm just pointing out is, you know, I had an issue about y'all tech stuff. I've been advocating and helping you for that part.
Yes, always.
Again, these are small numbers, and I don't understand why why they're getting denied. So I'm just gonna leave that there, and I want fiscal to kind of talk to us or explain to us this process and why these little amounts is getting denied. Because courts, tech, documents, visiting judges, this stuff, they gotta run as efficient as well to be what we stand by, great customer service. And I'm big about customer service. And again, I'm support staff first. And if we can't support our staff, everybody can't do their job.
Right.
So at this point, commissioners, I'm just happy we all listening and we all nodding. And I think we all on the same page. So thank you, but can you send me that?
Yes,
Thank you.
gladly. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, I don't call on people.
Commissioner Gershenson.
same.
Use your mic, please. Use your mic.
Microphone.
I was going to ask the same thing. If you have your needs in your presentation there, you should just send us that sheet. That's the bottom line. But for us that don't have a 50-second, and this is the rub, Angela, for us that don't have 50-second, it's being paid out of everybody's taxes, we're allocating money to the 50-second that our other communities do not get. So West Bloomfield, Bloomfield Township courts, they're not going to get that. Having said,
In a small way, but like, for example, the weekend arraignment, we do 48 district court.
well, that is so compelling. That weekend arraignment is really good. So
Right.
I'm hoping you
In
have
our
that
court
on.
right.
You're going to send us that number for
Yes.
weekend arraignments in particular. It's really good. But IT one for that's not good. So that's the tech specialist, and we took a few notes, but it'll be helpful for us to get the whole picture. So
Yeah, definitely.
And, in the future, Alex, the time to come to us, do you come to PHS? Is that your liaison
I
committee?
do.
Yeah, so
That's why Angela knows me.
In May, June, July is when you really should be saying, this is what we need. This is what we need, because
And I want to respond to that in our defense. Like, we want to try to work with fiscal as much as we can and get like their perspectives, so that we're not coming to you for things that they can give us good reasoning on, but when we waited for the response and we didn't receive it, we realized we waited too long and we should have come to you
Okay,
before
well,
that.
that makes sense, but in defense of our fiscal, there's been a lot going on this year, but you have access to us.
Right.
So you should utilize that.
Yeah,
too.
we're always trying to be mindful of, we work with these people and we don't want to just jump
Well,
on
I mean,
over.
we're talking business, we're
I need
not
you to
talking
give
a
the
party,
energy
we're
I know
talking
you have.
business.
Yes.
And we should be brought up to date, we should know.
I know it's shocking, but I try to play nice sometimes.
But I have one more question, Gwen, real quick. The in-person translation, that's what I have wanted to ask. The reason why I was asking that is because in in-person translation, when someone can't use the visuals, are we accommodating them to do in-person translation
Oh,
for
always,
them?
yes.
Okay. You know, my parents is deaf, my daddy can't see
Yes.
in one eye, and if he had to look at a thing, that ain't gonna work for him.
Oh, yeah,
So I was
certainly.
just making sure we're accommodating our folks for their preference. be it
Absolutely.
To make
We
them
have an
comfortable.
ADA coordinator in each building,
Okay.
so like, I had somebody contact me the other day and say, my mom's got to come to court on a civil thing, she's blind, can I come with her, or do you have somebody to help her? We have somebody to help her,
Okay,
or you
cool.
can come with her, we can do both.
Okay.
We make sure that we always have translators in every way, sign language, we help blind people all the
Which
time.
I figured, but I just wanted to give you that
Yes.
little scenario, so y'all kind of being mindful of that, which I'm not saying y'all wasn't, but I'm just
Yeah.
happy we do accommodate.
But
everybody.
also, I just want to say that, Alex, you are one of the best advocates for your courts, and you're clear, you're no nonsense, there isn't fluff around it. So we do appreciate you and your straightforwardness.
No
and
problem.
we appreciate all of you. We especially, you're in Clarkston?
Yeah.
Until May, and then I'm outside the road.
Yeah, and so we should really talk about that. I don't know if that's, yeah, but that's been ongoing for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And we really hoped that the commissioners that represent you were gonna step forward and help you, but that clearly hasn't happened.
Yeah, we're getting
Over all
really
these
concerned,
years.
obviously, because if the lease is up and we don't have a response, yesterday we had a conversation with Ed Joss about that there was some evaluations done of the facilities, but they weren't shared with us, and we did, our chief judge did try to obtain those reports to see, like, I mean, did you find them to be suitable? What are you thinking? And we were not able to receive those.
So that's, unacceptable that you're not getting a response. I know there's a little bit of history. So we just have to go forward and work that stuff out.
And that lease runs out when?
It's actually May, I'm sorry, it's May.
It's May, next year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Hard to build out a courthouse, so
Time
we're not gonna
flies.
stay there.
Time
Right.
goes
It's
fast,
not like you
so
can just
that's
rent an
not that
office
far
space
away.
and roll in there and start having juries sit down. I mean, it's a special.
And when
license.
did you say that trial was gonna start?
Say it again, it's gonna start, I think.
November.
1st.
November 10th.
November 10th for 2 weeks, and then skip Thanksgiving, and then 2 more weeks.
Okay, so that's like a urgent, kind of
We
semi-urgent
can
request.
look into special projects.
So, Commissioner Gershenson, is that all?
I'm done.
Okay, and Commissioner Powell, you had another question? Okay,
I was just trying to clear this so we know his timeline.
okay.
Anyone else from the audience?
Anybody on the other side over here? Got any questions? You good? You good? You good? Good. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Well, thank you
All right,
all
well,
for
thank
letting
you
us
all
come
for
and
coming.
present.
And that concludes the third
I don't know what trial is.
budget hearing today. We now have a public comment for anybody who wants to speak to this committee. So I'll open up for that. Seeing no one, I will ask, is there anything else that this committee wishes to speak on right now? If not, I will call this meeting adjourned.
So they took her off from certain cases.
No.
Help.